This is Shiva here, founder of Lyzr, and I have with me Rishabh, co-founder and CBO of GoML. Welcome to the fourth episode of the GenAI CIO. Lot more things are happening on a weekly basis, so we have some more news to cover, which would be useful for the enterprise technology audience here. Yeah, with that, let's get started. So Rishabh is going to kick off today's episode with an interesting news from Mistral. Rishabh, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Shiva, and welcome everyone to the fourth episode of the CIO GenAI CIO podcast. Uh, we'll start with a very interesting news for this week. Mistral, we had covered in our last week's podcast as well, announcing they raised another round of funding, which now values them to more than $2 billion. Last week, again, they come up with a good announcement where they've introduced Mistral. H7B model, which is a 7 billion parameter model that they've released as an open source model, which is very different from how Google launched Gemini 2 weeks back. So, very interestingly, how they've launched it, they first gave the download link to the model in an ex post very silently, and once this download model was available or the link was available to everyone in a blog post, they released the model.
It's
You know,
a magnet link where we used to download torrent movies, right? So
correct.
that's what we did. And it's not a 7 billion model. It is a mixture of experts 7 billion model, which means there are eight mixture of experts used, and each mixture of experts is approximately 7 billion. So in total, it goes all the way up to 56 billion. Right, that's the number of parameters that are there. So that's why they call it as Mixtral, not Mistral, because it's mixture of experts. And we still, I mean, some early benchmarking results are coming in. We're still not sure how great it is in terms of performance, but I think in the meanwhile they launched the API version as well. So
Correct.
that's what we're, yeah.
So correct, Shiva, absolutely right, right. So what they've done is they've at least for now they've launched it in three versions. So one is the tiny, which is the 7 billion model, and then obviously is the small, which as you mentioned is the mixture of these eight of these 7 billion models, and then there's a medium, right? The tiny and the small model is available for free downloads with for developers to try it out, whereas the medium model is a paid API that people can use in their applications, right? And as you mentioned, the early benchmarks are coming in. So I think around the truthful QA test that is done for hallucination and bias, right? It has performed much better than Llama 2 when it comes to the open source model side, as well as the empty bench test, right? So again, it's at least at this point being stated, and I was going through a couple of articles also on this, blogs from developers who've tried it out. It's showing a little better power than Llama 2 from open source models perspective.
Definitely. See, Llama 2 was released many months back. So hopefully, I mean, all the new models will definitely have to do better than Llama 2. I don't think Llama 2 is a benchmark anymore. People use it to probably showcase that, yeah, they're better than Llama 2 anyway. I'm really waiting for what Meta could do. But at this point in time, I would also kind of shout out to Brave Dev, which is a new kid on the block. Rishabh and I spoke to exchange notes with the founder of Brave Dev, Nader, and what they're doing is again fantastic. So they take all these open source models like Mistral and Llama and Mixtral, and they negotiate a GPU power, I would say, capacity with the GPU providers, including the likes of Amazon, and they give you APIs for companies to try out these powerful models themselves. So, in addition to what Mistral is bringing in, and in addition to what Hugging Face provides, Brave Dev also provides some enterprise grade, high performance APIs to try these models. So, yeah, shout out to the whole team there. Fantastic job. We are excited to collaborate with Brave Dev as well. So the Mistral API on these lines is again a welcome option, I think, additionally compared to what we have with OpenAI and Anthropic and other LLM API providers. So yeah.
Absolutely, and as Shiva you mentioned, we're excited to partner with RevDev. On that note, before we move on, I think one more interesting thing about Mistral, which is to be noted, is them doing really well with the European languages, which has always been a challenge. Right, so they're doing French, Italian, to name a few. Right, so I think that's another thing to be noted around the power of
Nice,
that Mistral is bringing in.
nice. So,
So very interesting. I think you highlighted it in last week's podcast when we were announcing the launch of Gemini by Google, how it's already being criticized. So now openly they've committed that some of the demos that were actually created specifically around the demo that actually mimicked the duck, that was actually created was a staged demo. But at the same time, they also mentioned that this was more to show the developers what is the capability. But one thing that is actually openly being criticized, very rightly so, is if that was the case, then the staging of the demo should also have been highlighted in the post as a side note. But it's nothing. Well, a lot of these demos are staged, but it's nothing new for Google to probably stage such demos. And this brings me back to an experience that happened at the launch of Duplicate in 2018, right? When sorry, my bad. When it was being launched on the stage, they were making bookings with barber and whatnot on the fly. Later on, they admitted all those were recordings that they were playing. So it's nothing new for Google, right, to do it. Now that the model is out, a lot of things are being updated, and we'll probably speak about it in the later half of the podcast about other models as well. But how it was performing on MMLU, and just as a side note, there's another model that actually came in the world, which is Hathi, which is the Hindi model that also performed a little better, right, on those fronts. So I think that now that the model is released for everyone to try it out, Nano real performance is coming out. Shiva, any thoughts on that?
I think it is a misdirection for sure. Google doesn't have to do this. Uh, they have a powerful model anyway in Gemini coming in. Um, yeah, it's. I mean, they could have avoided it. Uh, but it goes to shows the amount of pressure all these big tech companies are in actually at this point in time, especially from their enterprise customers. I know at least 3 to 4 customers who've been demanding Google to bring in their LLMs as APIs for quite some time, and there is a threat of them walking out at any point in time to OpenAI or other platforms. And on the other hand, what do you have? You have Azure with OpenAI, the enterprise version of OpenAI, which is actually apparently faster than OpenAI API themselves, and bigger enterprises are getting better throttle from Azure OpenAI. So yeah, just see the amount of pressure, and Google kind of probably is already breaking under the pressure. Hopefully, the new model is better. Hopefully, we have more options available for enterprise customers as well. So yeah,
But
that's
one thing you absolutely rightly pointed out, right, Shiva? See, today when we actually look at most of these models, the benchmarking is then again the GPT suite, right? The reason obviously is because GPT has grown from there. Right? It did not probably day one obviously it wasn't there. What again as under pressure, right? It's tactics to probably reach there on day one of release. And now the real story is coming, and we'll speak about Phi 2, which is the model that Microsoft launched. And now Nano performed, or you feared worse than Phi 2 on MMLU, as they was stating it was better than even GPT. So I think what they also need to understand. It's a journey that they need to embark on. It's not like they release and day one they probably start competing with the likes of GPT, which has entered so well into so many use cases with so many enterprises across. I think that's fun learning definitely.
cool. Let's move on. What's next?
Uh, brings me back to the tour that Sam Altman was doing, world tour, and he also came to India. He did have a jibe with the Tech Mahindra CIO at that time that India is
What happened?
probably.
What happened with that? What's the
So,
update on that?
so while Tech Mahindra is stating that they're still, working on it and they're sharing updates, there are other models that have been released in India. But just from what I was trying to get into, Shiva, is the update that I'm about to share
Isn't it
is.
a, isn't it a big? I would say not an insult, but Tech Mahindra, about $6-7 billion company. I mean, if the CEO challenges openly, something should happen here. They should have built something by now, at least, right? Or acquired. I mean, with all that money, acquire some LLM and show that, hey, you know what, we can compete. I mean, I'm really disappointed, to be honest.
So Shiva, there's a theory that I have, and since we speak to a lot of these CIOs across, right, day in day out. See, one obviously is you want to build tech, but how practical that tech is. These service providers, SIs, and we speak to as we speak to them, they want to build tech which is more consumable for their clients. At the end of the day, they want to build their business on top of it, right? So and so companies like Tech Mahindra and the other SIs that we work across, they are focusing on how do they leverage these models to build use cases for their customers, and that's what they bring on the table best, rather than building these models from scratch and
No,
stuff.
but that is why this was a challenge in itself, isn't it? That's why he accepted the challenge in a public forum.
Right?
Yes, they might probably launch something in next few months or even next few years, but that's not the point. The point is moving faster. I mean, how do we move faster? We've taken a challenge. We have all the money power. Get the brightest stuff, the brightest people around, and get things moving. I mean that's where I'm disappointed, right? So I hope it is not just a stunt, just to protect their existing enterprise customers. That, hey, you know what, we are doing some great things. You don't have to worry. We are on top, etc. I don't know. It was just a muscle pushing game with the other SIs. So I hope it's just not a stunt. But like I said, I'm already disappointed because it's already been a few months.
Yeah,
Sam, in the meantime, Sam was fired and he joined back. A lot of drama happened and no update from Tech Mahindra. So yeah, guys, what are you guys doing? I mean, ship something out, man. I mean, there are Servam and many other Indian startups are launching and growing. So
that's why I'm a big booster for startups, especially in the GenAI space. Like, the amount of updates that you're getting from the startup world, actually, is just crazy, right? Uh, and we'll speak about some of these fundings as we move forward. But OpenAI is pretty serious about India now that we know about it, right? They've realized it's a huge market, and they've hired Rishi Jaitly, which supposedly was the first employee of Twitter. I think he quit Twitter in 2016 to go on and start his own, a company that focuses more on providing newer ideas focused in the Indian market. So definitely he brings in a lot of experience. But OpenAI definitely sees us bringing in Rishi Jaitly, and they want him to focus on the India and the APAC territory primarily, right?
nice.
So
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. But what I'd be keen, right, Shiva, after this deployment, well, obviously they've just made an announcement, they've not opened up what probably they're working on. But what I'd again be keen on seeing is how one obviously is they tackle the linguality in the Indian market, right? That definitely is one thing that OpenAI hasn't challenged yet. That definitely would be one area that I'd be interested how it pans out. And number two is again India being, and going back to what you just mentioned, right, Tech Mahindra, and I was just going to add that was it a patriotic comment? He took it on his ego as an Indian, and then probably wanted to challenge. So with so many players now, right, we spoke about Bharat GPT, which is now being leveraged across multiple, including IRCTC. So how does Chat GPT now challenges that status quo? Right. So these two would be very interesting things to look out.
Cool.
Right.
Next. Okay, Rishabh, why is GPT-4 getting lazy? What is?
So one reason, and this is like exactly what, not exactly what they mentioned, but they mentioned that they've not updated the model after 11th November. Obviously, they were busy with Sam Altman going out, coming back, them moving out to Microsoft, etc., etc. Just a joke, right? But yeah, they've mentioned that probably they've not updated the model after 11th November. But I think Shiva, I was reading a couple of comments from the data science community. And one thing, obviously, that they've highlighted 2 points, right, is what folks have highlighted primarily why GPT is now leaving some tasks unaccomplished and while probably giving, erratic responses across others. One obviously is a lot of people are predicting as the model gets trained and gets built upon, there's a model collapse that might happen, and I think we spoke about this in the past in our past podcast. Number two, which is more important, is and this dates back to how GPT launched the model, right? Which is when they started testing it out, they wanted to control the level of information that it gave. They wanted to control, how they don't give out offensive content and so on. So they built something called as meta prompts, which get appended to anything that you send to GPT today as in the background, right? So probably nothing which is sexually oriented or probably offensive to certain
So
communities.
is that like their in-house prompts that they add to?
Absolutely. And and there's a very interesting journey how they came up with it. Even the Microsoft team was involved in that whole team, how they generated these meta prompts, right? But yeah, the reason why most of these data science community is highlighting is that some of these meta prompts are now acting up, right, and probably not responding to some things that it should be responding to as well, right? So that's again, these are the two things that I've been going through. But this is a good challenge, but I really feel it's instead of a deterrent, right? And obviously the community is now saying, is GenAI possible? Is AGI not possible? But what I'm excited now is that we are encountering such challenges now. It's an opportunity for all of us and the whole community to understand how do we solve this. Like, model collapse is something that people realize and they've started looking into. Now, probably such problems, how do we solve? It's a good challenge and opportunity for all of us.
No, I mean at this point in time, I want to highlight the fact that there is a good 1 hour video by Andre Karpathy, who's one of the computer science leaders at OpenAI, right? So where he explains how LLMs work. Uh, Now, what we need to understand is even they don't know how a model behaves, how it decides what words to look at, and how to form a sentence. I mean, even they don't know that. That's the base. I would say that's how transformers work, and that's what Anthropic is trying to crack as well. They're saying, "Hey, we'll try and crack it, etc." But that's not. That is the nature of the whole architecture. The Transformers model is designed that way. So that's why there is a mystery to this. So now, long story short, laziness is not because of the model. Like you said, it's because of every other thing that is happening with the model, not the model in itself, not the core model in itself. So because they don't have control, no one has control. Only if you
Correct.
have control,
Exactly.
they control it. There is no control. And since they haven't updated, and why when OpenAI says, "Hey, we haven't updated since November," what they're trying to say is we haven't done anything in the back end. Anyway, we don't have control. So it is not about the model; it's about something else. So that's the underlying thing about the whole
Exactly.
statement.
Exactly. Sure. You rightly pointed out if this was something related to the hallucination of the model, that's how transformer models work, right? They generate as they move on. But yeah, the laziness of the model, obviously, I totally agree with you, cannot be attributed to how the transformer models behave, right? So, absolutely. Okay. So, are we,
Yeah,
as
we are.
OpenAI claims,
But
are we going to read the GenAI state or not? Sure.
sorry.
I mean, moving on to the next update, I'm asking, will we, according to OpenAI, will we reach the GenAI state, super alignment state or not?
Yeah, we are ready for AGI. That's what OpenAI has kind of said. They have this team, which is the super alignment team, and they are looking at 2027 to be the year of AGI, which they call as the super aligned AI. So let us break it down. What does super alignment mean? So you have today what is happening? You have AI, which as humans we kind of say AI do this, AI do that. All right. Uh, as the AI continues to improve its reasoning capabilities, and that's the Q star thing that we spoke in one of our earlier episodes, that the Q star ideally will give more math capabilities to LLMs today, which is really good on language anyway. When you give math, your reasoning capabilities go up. That's the whole thought process. So as AI gets more and more powerful, humans cannot control AI anymore. It'll reach a stage where any amount of prompts, any amount of guardrails will not allow AI to behave in a certain way. So that's where this concept called mini AI comes into picture. There's a smaller AI which will now manage this larger AI, so that the larger AI is super aligned with human values. So super aligned is all about aligning with human values. So when a super computer or a super AI aligns with human values, the whole term of super alignment comes into picture. So that's the whole background on super alignment. There's a decent, I think, amount of data available already about this. There's a paper that OpenAI has put in. Obviously, encourage audience to go and read. So that's what super alignment is all about, actually. And as I speak, a quick shout out to Perplexity AI. Uh, I'm in no way connected to them, but I just realized the power of Perplexity AI. Kind of the last 2 3 days, I've been like using it more so, and the fact that it is able to do these research articles, I mean, this work on this research prompts really well and bring back real time data is fantastic. So super alignment. When I asked, okay, what is super alignment, it gave me all those points that I need to know, which kind of was fantastic. I mean, I got the whole context. I didn't. Then I went and read the paper, the blog, the press release that OpenAI did. It is exactly the same. I mean, there was nothing like really new that there was there. So real time news, research quality answer, and Perplexity is doing really good. So I was still going to Google search for some things from. I mean, I use GPT a lot. I think I stated earlier that I've replaced Google Chrome icon. I mean, sorry, app from my home screen and replaced that with GPT. But I still used to go to Chrome for a few things. But I don't think I'm going to go to Google Chrome search. So Google search for more things, and Perplexity is fantastic. A shout out super alignment. I mean, Perplexity played a role in helping me understand super alignment so easily and so quickly. So yeah, so that's what super alignment is.
Gotcha. So one thought, but since you've researched a lot on the subject, right? While obviously as a technologist, I totally agree that we need to move on. The technology advancement is always welcome. I think people stating it will take over the world and probably is going to act. I think those are very far fetched, pointers. What I'd love to hear your perspective is, and a very interesting article that I was reading is on one end, we are bringing the cognitive ability that humans today have, right, in these AI models. But why we are able to carry that kind of cognitive ability? Because in parallel to that, we have a cognitive conscience, which
Hmm.
these AI models will not have as they develop that cognitive ability. So, what's yours? I'd love to hear your take in probably 2 minutes on
No, that's a very deep discussion that might take us into different realms.
that. That's why I said 2 minutes.
Yeah. In short, even we don't define, even we can, I mean, my perspective, right? Some of them can claim they can define, but I don't think we can still define what is consciousness, what is soul, what happens after we die, where does the energy move. There are various concepts. A lot of religions have a lot of concepts, various concepts. So if we take all of that out, we cannot define what consciousness is. And tomorrow, like Rishabh, like you mentioned, these models get so sophisticated that they can show signs of consciousness, which is nothing but memory plus reasoning capabilities, all that coming together. We might probably tend to believe, you know what, probably this is what consciousness is eventually. I mean, this is what it
Yes.
is. It's just that a different machine made of, I mean, we are machines made of blood and muscles, and we made another machine which does the same thing. So, a very deep topic. I don't think even years would be sufficient for us to discuss this. Yeah, let's see.
I do have one theory which I'll just probably take 30 seconds to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we are scared that these models will take over the world, and again, as I mentioned, these are very far fetched. I One reason why I believe these are very far fetched because this goes with an assumption that we understand the human mind very well, which in itself is not true. Like I was reading an article last week which stated that now scientists have discovered that larger brains, right, is not the reason why we have a better cognitive ability. It's mainly because some parts of the brain use more energy even if all of them are built with neurons, right? So one assumption that all of us are taking is that we understand the way human mind behaves absolutely perfectly, which is not the case, right? So I guess so that's my theory. But you're absolutely right. I think this can go on for another, if not weeks, at least hours, right? So, moving on to the next, update, and this is a very interesting update I want to share, Shiva, is that obviously Microsoft launched, their Model 5.2 last week, which is I think a 2.7 billion parameter model, and developers can start accessing it through the Microsoft Azure AI Studio, right, to try out these models. But why I'm excited to share this is that in practicality, right, they've proved that this works or this performs better. Uh, and then Nano on the MMLU, benchmark, right? So that's a very interesting update. Just took a week, right, to Microsoft to come back and challenge what Google was trying to prove last week. So it surpassed Llama 2 and Mistral as well on probably some of these initiatives like common sense reasoning and logical reasoning and so on and so forth. But I think the most interesting update it is was able to surpass Nano on the MMLU benchmark. Sure.
Where does it all
It's
take us?
I,
This is a good news. Microsoft is also kind of moving ahead. Now that they know OpenAI is not joining them, they will have to obviously move forward. So, so the models, I mean, kind of compete with each other at different sizes. There's this concept that IBM introduced called SLM, which is small language models. We have this Google's Nano, Microsoft's 5.2 coming out, etc. All these models are competing. GPT is like far ahead. Gemini Ultra supposed to compete with that. Anthropic is a bit behind. What I'm saying, I mean, the point I'm trying to highlight here is, Rishabh, you and I have been speaking with a lot of enterprise customers, both from Lyzr and GoML, and enterprises are still at a chat GPT level, right? They're still thinking, how do I implement chatbots? How do I implement virtual assistants? Do I need virtual assistants? What problem is it going to solve for me? They are still, I mean, most of them, I mean, I'm not saying all of them, most of them are still thinking that way. And here we are, all these models are competing with each other. I mean, the world is perfectly fine just with GPT-4, isn't it? I mean, why do we need any other models? Actually, it is developer community. Obviously, it's a fantastic thing. They love to play with toys. It is like a new PlayStation game releasing, and all of us kind of jump onto it and work on it. Which is, I understand that energy. You build some cool applications and showcase, etc. But otherwise, from an actual use case adoption standpoint, all you need is GPT-4. I mean, even 3.5, to be honest. GPT-4 is also good, obviously. That's it. I mean, it is. What I'm saying is, there is too much supply already. Than there is demand. That's the point I'm trying to highlight. The demand from enterprise is totally different. Uh, and yeah, so we'll have to see how it evolves in the next 6 months. I know none of these companies are going to stop from releasing newer models. They are just continuing to launch more and more capable models. So it's an interesting path. We have to see how it goes. We will also continue to share our experience.
Brilliant point. I mean, I'm sure. First of all, thanks for bringing it up, right? And I was speaking to this, as a $4 billion enterprise CIO last week, and and without obviously naming, he mentioned that he's completely clueless which model to go after, right? So the problem is, as you rightly mentioned, people are not solving the consumability issue. So no one is speaking which use cases to adopt on GenAI or probably how to power your orbit, what benefit you can get. Everyone is speaking about context window, and I think I mentioned it in one of those podcasts. I would love to see these wars coming out of context windows first of all, right? Because people need to understand the accuracy is also something we need to look at. But on a side note, that's what we learned very early in our journey, Shiva, right? When at Lyzr and GoML is what we are doing with customers is going and helping them understand how they can benefit or what are the right use cases, what is the consumability you can get out of these models. And as you rightly mentioned, I think we've leveraged GPT most of the times, or
Yeah,
probably Llama 2 and Anthropic. I don't think so. We've tried any of these because it's not the need of the hour. The need of the hour is to probably make the models that are already adopted to be more consumable, right?
yeah. I
So
mean, almost what 70% of Lyzr's customers are on OpenAI, I mean GPT-4 actually. So this is what I always call as the Walmart toothpaste scenario. So you go to buy a toothpaste to a Walmart or a Target, any of these major American retailer, and you will see ton of choices. You will see like 30, 40 choices and very similar, very little overlap. Sorry, very less differentiation between each one of them, which is what's currently happening in the LLM world as well. We all know GPT-4 is the clear winner, but then this is just so crowded. Like you said, developers, yes, they just go play around. They like to benchmark, etc. But enterprise companies, I mean, they want more stability. They want more. They want to build something and they want to stick to it for some period of time, actually. So yeah, let's see. It's interesting.
sure. All right. The last news of the day is obviously with Sam
Sam Al.
Altman, right? Good, sure,
Yeah.
sir.
So I think there were reports that there was a leak of GPT 4.5, which is a slightly improved model, uh, multimodal native like Google's Gemini. Um, I think Sam again came back and said, no, it's not. It's not a leak. It's a wrong information. Yeah, that's where I mean again the point I make here is just look at the pressure that all these companies are going through. And this pressure is not coming from enterprise clients. This pressure is not coming from users. It's coming from the market. It is coming from between them. It's coming from investors. So it's coming from, yeah, it's just crazy. But again, smart in what he did, he allowed this news to play around for some time. He didn't kind of come and refute immediately. Obviously, it would have gone to his notice almost immediately, but he just wants to play around and then update a few hours later, actually. But let's see what's in store. I think they're going to go for GPT-5 probably.
That's what I'd heard. I'd never heard 4.5 was coming in.
Yeah,
So that's why I was
but if
surprised.
we don't know. I mean, see, after this whole saga, we don't know what's going to happen, what's true, what's not true. So we are just audience watching many miles away. It could be 4.5. It could be legit, or it could be five. Let's see. Let's see what.
Absolutely. I'm just waiting that he actually refuted the idea before Elon Musk could comment on that. Just as a side note, obviously Elon Musk is playing on his own turf. He's brought back Alice Jones, right? Pushing Tim Cook to probably delist Apple from X again. But yeah, I mean, I don't. I like my podcast to have Elon Musk definitely in that, so that's why she was bringing up. But yeah, good updates.
Good
Good
updates.
updates.
Just again, in all transparency to the audience, Rishabh and I did speak earlier today that we would want to bring more and more enterprise related generative AI content because that's the whole essence of this podcasters. So you will start seeing more of the AWS and Snowflake and Databricks and Azure and Google Cloud news as well, which are like interesting ones that might be more useful. So yeah, join us next week for another episode of Gen AI CIO. Like I said, we are committed to one whole year, 54 episodes, which Rishabh and I have signed up. And we are also bringing in some interesting guests. So we have a special guest joining us next week. He's from the venture capital world, so you will probably get an essence of an idea of what VCs are looking at when it comes to investing in Gen AI companies. So yeah, looking forward to all your support. Uh, See you next week then.
Right,
Bye.
great. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.